Welcome to another episode of the SERMAPod. This is the podcast for the Sports and Entertainment Risk Management Alliance. I am the CEO and founder of SERMA, Rich Lenkov. I'm also the host of the SERMAPod, and we're very grateful today to have two of our members on to discuss their amazing product. Bob Doucette and Kip Daniels, welcome. Tell us who you are and about your product, about your company.
Bob Doucette, Red Alert Wax from Louisville, Kentucky.
And Rich, Kip Daniels, serve as a business representative working for Bob to, as you pointed out, introduce his amazing product to the insurance marketplace.
Yeah, we met at one of our happy hours in Arizona a few months ago, and before long, Kip was showing me a in-person demonstration. I was amazed. I knew that we had to have this in our group because it really is an effective product for a lot of our members who are using it already. So who wants to kick it off? Bob, tell us first sort of how the company came to be and how you became involved with it and why you became involved with this company and this product.
Red Alert started back in 2010. We were doing some buildings for the Archdiocese, working on some projects here. The founder, the guy who came up with the idea, Mike Orsini, was in a meeting when the insurance company came in and said, hey, look, we had a slip and fall. This lady, she's a parishioner. She's 84 years old. She has fallen, broken her hip, shoulder or something else. Well, she passed away. So at that point, we're like, there's got to be a better way because the insurance man comes back in and says she's passed on. We got to figure out a way to make our floors safer. So we got to thinking and we got to digging. The old-fashioned way is let's increase the coefficient of friction. But for the last 45 years, that hasn't helped at all. Slips and falls are the number one claim. So we got to thinking about it. Well, what if we made it visible? So water is invisible. We make it visible. You see it. Gives you a fighting chance where to walk around it. It's on guard 24/7. All you got to do is swap out using your standard floor product that you use now and change it over to Red Alert. And the rest is you're safer.
A lot of us who handle premises liability claims hear about this coefficient of friction. Could you explain that in a little bit more detail? I know you're not necessarily a scientist, but to the extent that you can, maybe shine some light on that concept because it is so crucial to defending premises liability claims.
Well, coefficient of friction, according to OSHA, in the government standards, needs to be about a 0.6 or actually a 0.5 and above. 0.6 is your typical floor, like a varnished floor or a gym floor. 0.001 would be ice. 0.1 would be carpet. So about 0.6, what happens is you're getting traction on the floor, so you're not slipping on a dry standard floor. When you input water in the situation, things change.
So, Kip, the goal is to build a better mousetrap, and it looks like you have, based on what I saw when we were together in Phoenix. Tell us a little more about how the product works and what are its applications to the world of sports and entertainment.
Yeah, well, the application works. It's pretty simple, as Bob, kind of pointed out a few moments ago. We're a turnkey solution, and so a lot of times when it comes to vinyl composite tile, sealed and polished concrete floors, as well as a terrazzo type of flooring that you may find in more of a foyer in the sports and entertainment sector, they are applying some type of floor finish. One, to not only protect their floors, but two, to give it a little bit of a shine, a little bit of a spark to indicate that the area is clean and gives off kind of a more positive vibe. As Bob pointed out, we simply just are replacing that standard floor finish and coating and utilizing ours. Now ours, as Bob kind of pointed out, contains a special pixie dust that when water comes in contact with it, it turns a reddish pink type of color, thereby kind of notifying that there is some type of hazard on the floor. And as Rich, you pointed out, when these premise liability situations arise, a lot of folks have kind of become what I would describe are kind of tone deaf to the yellow warning signs that may exist out there, and that yellow warning sign may be applicable, in a certain area, but as you walk, 5 or 10 feet, down an aisle or around a particular section, there still could be a hazard there on the floor that otherwise that particular sign isn't given its appropriate care to.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're right. I think in some respects, the yellow cones have become almost wallpaper in the background frequently that people don't pay attention to, even though we argue all the time that that does alert the guest, the customer, the future plaintiff of the presence of something. It kind of like becomes a car alarm, right? Who these days stops and deals with a car alarm when they hear it? It's kind of the same thing. So this new innovation is incredibly important. Um, so does it work only, Kip, with water, or does it apply to other liquids as well?
It applies to other liquids as well, but the key part to those liquids is having some type of, call it, water contaminant. So we get questions all the time of what does it react with, what doesn't react with. In terms of what it doesn't react with, are those that have kind of a higher acidic type of value. So when you talk about the sports and entertainment, you talk about your Sierra Mist, your Sprites, your Seven Ups, or perhaps maybe even a lemonade. We're not going to quite react to those particular products. But the good part out of it is that when those particular products do spill, as they, for lack of a word, start to dry, they're very sticky on the floor, and so it obviously is going to prompt some type of custodial or janitorial staff to clean up those. And as they obviously now take that little 3 by 3 inch spill that may be on the floor and throw that mop and go 3 feet by 3 feet, we're going to be able to now identify that segment where the floor is now wet. So we're going to remain a pinkish color until that floor is otherwise dried. So regardless of whether or not we react to the product that's on the particular floor, as part of that cleanup process, we are going to get some reaction to it, which once again makes the area safer. As you've got customers as well as staff there at the facility going back and forth.
Well, does the product does the product allow for you to determine, or anyone to determine how long it's been in that condition for? In other words, is there any way to determine the length, the duration of the spill from your product?
That would be with the camera system, would definitely show that up. So you're in a grocery store, and I've done this before. A very large chain went over and told them, hey, you got a spill over here on aisle 6. Stood there for 25 minutes, waited for them to go ahead and spill it, clean it up. They never showed up. But in the meantime, I put a basket over it. So that would be like us turning red and letting everyone know until they get there to clean it up. But the cameras will definitely show it. We have AI also that ties into your camera system that will start the recording and actually send out a text to everyone who's involved who are supposed to get over there and clean it up. We send them a text.
I think scientifically that maybe that's for round 2.0, that the product could get redder as time develops. I mean, that would be
well, actually, it gets lighter because the water is evaporating from the floor. Sooner or later, it's going to go back to a regular shiny floor once the water's is gone, is evaporated, but nobody has stepped in it because they see it as red.
So the goal is to quickly alert the
Yes.
Owner, the manager of the facility, that there's a product on the floor that needs dealing with, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And again, from a legal perspective, it's so important because one of the concepts that we apply always when there's a premises liability claim, at least one of the arguments we always make, is that the condition was open and obvious. And there is nothing, perhaps, Kip and Bob, more open and obvious than the way the liquid turns after coming in contact with red alert wax, correct?
Correct.
You're correct. And what I will add there, Rich, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there have been some recent actually decisions out of the state of Michigan when it comes to open and obvious. And while there's a couple different call it ramifications of those decisions, one of the, to me, aspects, if you read the rulings, is that going back to that comment I made a few moments ago, the yellow floor sign is no longer kind of the end all be all when it comes to open and obvious, and that, I think, to me, sends a warning sign out to folks that they can take some additional steps to, if possible, obviously their type of flooring. Utilize a product like Red Alert that also provides another type of open and obvious defense by clearly illustrating that there is still something on the floor. And so I think that's an important piece because once again, to your previous comment, I mean, it's gonna get pretty pretty bright red, pinkish color until the point where obviously it starts to then, actually, dry up on its own. So it does give individuals, blackbirds, a fighting chance. And I think, from the fact that it can be easily seen from, 50, 60, 70 feet away as you, obviously approach it. Once again, if you can't go around it, we've seen folks, on camera, obviously kind of tiptoe through it, not knowing exactly, what it was to begin with. So we definitely see a change in people's behavior around, the spills that are identified with our product.
This is a demonstration of the product in action.
So, well, I've got a couple minutes here if you like. As I mentioned earlier, there are three different types of floors that we work on. The vinyl composite tile, which I actually got a sample piece here, but it's already been pre-coated with the Red Alert product. You've got your sealed and polished concrete floors. When you talk about kind of large, venues, a lot of times they're walk areas and going down through the stadium on those stairs or sealed and polished concrete floors. And then you've got the terrazzo type of flooring, which if you look at, for example, airports or perhaps some older venues, they may utilize that in their lobby to kind of give it a little bit different kind of shine and look, as compared to just your traditional sealed and polished concrete floors. But what I'll do, Rich, and hopefully it doesn't mess up the view here too much. I'm just going to tilt my camera down here a little bit. You can see the product there. And what I have is just some water that I'm going to go ahead and apply to, without making a big mess. And you can see, almost immediately it's starting to otherwise change color. And to our previous discussion points there, it's going to continue to get darker and darker until we decide to clean up this particular spill.
Wow. And that's just regular water, the same kind that might be spilled on any floor of any arena, any stadium in the country.
Exactly. Just regular water. So
it's not some magic potion that Doucette cooked up in his bathtub, is it?
I hope not. I hope not. But from a cleanup perspective, the other thing that we commonly get asked is, as I just kind of dump it off here, I'll swipe it off here, Rich, on my shirt. You can see it turns pink there for a minute or two, and then once again, this tile, by the time we're probably done having our conversation, will be back to its original state. And that's obviously when that particular piece is dry. So that's the good part, and where I mentioned, aside from kind of the sports entertainment, aspect of it, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, across a number of different, industries where their flooring, has something the same, and where obviously slip and falls are a common accident, unfortunately, within their locations.
Appreciate the demonstration. Kip Daniels and Bob Doucette from Red Alert Wax. When and how can our listeners and viewers find out more about your product and your company?
Well, it's pretty simple. We're always just a phone call or email away, but they can visit us at redalertwax.com. Our contact information is there, and obviously we'd love the opportunity to discuss their needs in greater detail. As I mentioned, we don't work on all floors, and we may not react to all things, but looking at a lot of different depositions out there that you see on a daily basis, a lot of times when it comes to the slip and falls, it's a result that they never saw the hazard in the first place. And that common hazard, in most cases, is water. So we appreciate the opportunity to visit with you this afternoon here, Rich.
And of course, you can check out more information about Bob and Kip on our website, theserma.org. As I mentioned, they are members. Check them out in the directory and look for them at a future SERMA event. We've got lots coming up. And as they say, Bob and Kip, operators are standing by for now.
Well, our phone lines
seen on TV. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on the SERMAPod, guys.
Okay. Thank you.